Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a big hand. Well, here we are, Malt Shop Memories. How many people have been here from the very beginning? How many people are here for the first time? How many people are coming back for the second time? Well, God bless you. At any rate, I finally found them. I found him in my room. He was walking down the aisle. He got lost. I found him in my room. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, your friend, the amazing Frankie Avalon, my man.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I got to say one thing.
What?
You talk too much.
E parlate troppo assai.
All right. We're
Okay,
going to sit down and
Aspetta.
Okay.
Okay, aspetta. Oh, wait.
That's how you sit down.
But wait,
All right.
that's an Italian and Jewish oy vey.
All right, I'm having a great time here. You all having a good time? Yeah. Terrific, yeah.
Now,
It's always a wonderful time here. You look forward to it. Next year is another great year.
yeah,
Right?
10th year anniversary.
Wow. I was here, I don't know, was it the second year maybe?
You've been here, I think, about 5 times.
No.
Yeah.
He's wrong.
How many times? Am I right? 5 or 4?
Hi, Janice.
6 times?
I've been here 4 times. This is my 4th.
Oh, I lied
But
for a year.
no one really cares. I don't know why we're talking about this anyway. It's a difference. We're here now.
Frank, these people, this lady from Alaska, she worked for NASA. We'll get to you later
Well,
on.
look at that shirt. It's one of my old pictures.
That's
there,
what I'm saying. Well, you have to.
Oh, I got that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah. Kasha, it's one of my favorite dishes, Jewish dishes. Kasha varnishka. You know that dish?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, listen. We go back each other when we were playing half ball on the streets. We dated some of the same girls. He was a better dancer than me, a better singer than me. So these questions that I've got to ask are questions that we got to let them know about you. Okay?
All right, whatever you say.
Okay. How old? We saw when you were on stage, when you were playing trumpet with Jackie Gleason.
I was about 11. About 11 years old, yeah.
How did that happen? 11-year-old.
You know what? It's really something. Being from the neighborhood of South Philadelphia, there was a singer there who became very famous, very popular, #1 record around the world. His name was Al Martino.
Here in
You know
my
that?
heart.
Al Martino, right. So I was a kid, and I loved playing the horn, and I really played very well as a young boy. Because the reason for that was because I used to practice about 5 to 6 hours a day. I just loved to play the horn. And they had a party for him. Because he was now #1 around the world. And in the neighborhood there, they really supported him. And he was at a house, and we lived in row houses and little streets there. And I saw this big crowd. I got my horn, and I kind of squeezed my way through. And I knocked on the door, and I said, is Al Martino in there? He said, yeah. I said, can I play my trumpet for him? He said, yeah, come on in, kid. So I went in, and it was a party going on. And I opened the case up, and I took out my horn, and I started to play. And everybody stopped and listened to me play. And at the very end of the song that I played, Al Martino said to the man who owned the house, who is this kid? He said, I don't know. He's from the neighborhood. He said, you know what? This kid can really play. He said, why don't we ask his mom and dad if we could take him to New York and have him audition for one of the biggest agencies in the world at the time, General Artists Corporation, GAC. And they did ask my mom, and they took me in the car. We went to New York City. I went to their office. I took out the horn again, and I played. And Jack Sobel, I'll never forget the name, Jack Sobel was the agent. He said, you know, we handle Jackie Gleason. And he's right across the way. He's at the Sheraton Hotel. He's got a penthouse there, and they're writing the next show, and the next show the producers and the directors were there. Let's bring this kid over there, because Gleason loved the trumpet. So I went over there with them, and they were writing a show, and I interrupted them. I took out the horn again, and I started to play, and I looked up because it was a penthouse, and I see Gleason come out of his bedroom there. And after they applauded me, and Gleason said, "Write a show. I want them on in 2 weeks."
Really?
That was
And
it.
that's the way.
Yeah.
That was the first professional TV
Now,
show.
the funny thing what happened after that is that they had gotten a lot of mail about my performance there, and they wanted me on again. So the producer director called this guy who became my manager. He was really a bookie.
A bookie maker?
Yeah, yeah.
A bookmaker. A guy we knew in South Philly.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And they said his name was Silvio.
Oh,
So they said,
Sperato.
That's right.
Oh, he was a bookmaker,
That's
ladies
right.
and gentlemen. He was partners
So
with
he
my
said,
father.
all right. They said, does he do anything else? He said, yeah. They said, what does he do? He said, he tap dances. Well, I never tap danced in my life. But there was another guy from the neighborhood who was a hoofer, as they called him.
Huckabuck?
No, not Huck. Was Mike Landis.
Oh.
Mike Landis.
Yeah.
So they went to him, and I started to learn how to hoof.
Can
and
you still
in
do
a
it?
month's time.
Can you still do it?
Yeah.
Come on.
Let me see.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Hey, Frank. I said. Now, Jackie Gleason. Now, how do we go into the record business?
The record business. Well, first of all, because of the performances that I did on the Gleason show, I also did. They sent me out to California to do. There was a show called the Pinky Lee Show.
Remember Pinky Lee?
You who? That's me. My name is
Pinky,
Pinky
Pinky,
Lee.
Pinky.
With my funny hat and funny coat, funny dance like Billy Goat. So I did that, and then RCA Victor recorded me, and I had an EP.
Was it trumpet or was it vocal when they recorded you?
No, trumpet. I hadn't been singing. Okay. I know I wasn't singing then. Okay. The reason why I got to be singing is because there was it was summertime, school break, and there was a band called Rocco and his Saints.
Big band from our local area.
Yeah, they were very popular, but the trumpet player had left. So the guy Rocco, who was the head of the band, came to my house, and he wanted me to audition for him, which I did. And he said, "I'd like to hire you." I said, "Okay, how much?" And he said, "It's $35 a week." That was a lot of money because
Back then.
Yeah, because I was probably making more money than my dad, at the time. So what happened was I went with the band, and I'll never forget. I walked him to the front door, and he went outside, and he had in our little streets there. It was a 1956 brand new red Thunderbird convertible.
Right.
And I look at this car. He said, "You want to drive it?" I never drove. And I said, "Yeah, why not?"
And he
Got in the
crashed
car,
it.
No, I did not. I drove the car around the block, and he hired me. And we were playing at a place in New Jersey about 5-6 days a week. I was going to school.
Marks?
Huh?
Tony Marks?
No. This is not the shore. This was a place called Mary's Inn in South Jersey.
Okay.
No, that was big time. That was later. So I played with at Mary's Inn, and he used to say to me, people used to come up to the stage and said, "Let the trumpet player sing a few songs." So I would sing, "Pardon me, boy, I'm telling you now, they call me Lovin' Dan. I rock 'em, I roll 'em all night long. I'm a 60-minute man." So I did another song, and finally I said, we were backstage in the dressing room, and I said to Rocco, "Rocco, I'm a trumpet player. I'm not a singer. I'm not singing." He said, "I'll give you $5 a week more."
And you said, "I'm singing."
I said, "I got it. I'm singing." So that's how I started singing, and that was the beginning for me.
Chancellor Records, there were so many great record companies out of Philadelphia during the Dick Clark days, if you remember. Cameo, Parkway, Swan, Chancellor. You wind up on Chancellor Records with Bobby Marcucci, first artist to hit Pay Dirt on Chancellor, the new label. How'd that happen?
Well, I wasn't the first artist to hit, really. If you remember, It was
Jody Sands.
That's right.
Jody Sands.
Jody Sands. I was the fourth artist that they signed. What happened was they signed the band because they came in to Summers Point, where we were playing Bay Shores, and they were a new company. They were looking for new talent, and they liked our band. Our band was popular. So they said, we'd like to sign this band, and they did. They signed Rocco and the Saints, and they said, we want this kid to sing on one side and an instrumental. If you ever look it up, you can find a record somewhere. The record we did, one side was Jivin' with the Saints, which was an instrumental, and the other side was Rocco and the Saints. The song was called Cupid Shot an Arrow, featuring Frankie Avalon. That was my first record.
Bobby Sox from When a Girl Likes to... Oh,
No,
Dee Dee
no,
Dinah.
no.
Dee Dee Dinah?
No, I had a lot of duds. Are you kidding? No, those were the hit songs. Don't forget, I did Cupid Shot an Arrow, and nothing really happened with it. But what happened was this. The band, they had different aspirations. They didn't want to be in the music business or any of that. One wanted to be a chemist, which he became a chemist. One wanted to be a doctor, which he became. One a lawyer. So they went their ways in school. And, of course, I was a musical kid, and I just loved music. And so what they did is they bought me, and I'll tell you, you'll remember, they bought me my first suit, which wasn't really a suit. It was like khakis and a little vest or something like that, at Irving's. Right.
$5 down.
Right.
$5 down.
Right. And
$2 a week.
It was a $12 suit. And they took me, and we drove to Boston, and there was a big rock and roll show at Mechanics Hall, and my record company went to Joe Smith and Woo Woo Ginsburg, if anybody's from Boston.
Arnie Woo Woo Ginsburg out of Boston.
Right. So they said, can you put the kid on the show? And they said, no, we can't put him on the show. We have no more money. He said, we don't want any money. And they put me on the show, and it's really something. If you see the program, and I have one, there's, I don't know, from Chuck Berry to Fats Domino to all of these names on this big rock and roll show, and they penciled in Frankie Avalon. That was it. So now what had happened after that, and I go on and I sing this Cupid Shot an Arrow, and come out the stage door, and there's kids. And they say, can I have your autograph? Can I have your autograph? What's your fan club? What's your fan club? So all of a sudden, the record company said, hey, this kid, they like this kid. So they said, okay, let's keep him and let's try to make some more records, which they did, I did a thing called Shy Guy. I did something, I can't remember, but about 3 or 4 records, and they didn't sell at all. And I had one more side to do. So now they send me to New York City to go to a premiere of a motion picture starring Pat Boone. It was called April Love. And they said, now you have to, there was another company, and they wanted me to have a date. So they said, go to the Port of Authority and pick up this young gal who's now a recording artist. And I said, okay. And I pick her up, we get into a cab, and we go, and those days, the red carpet, with all the press and all that stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, new recording artist, Frankie Avalon and Connie Francis. So we go in, and nobody applauds. Nobody knows us from anything, And we go in, and we watch this movie, and we're so impressed by this, And, of course, our aspirations, nothing's really happening. I said, look, I got a few bucks. You want to take one of those rides in the carriage and the horse through Central Park? She said, yeah. I said, okay, let's go. And we're talking. I'm being very kind of rejected at this point. Nothing was really going on. And I said, I got one more song to do, one more record. She said, me too. She said, and if this doesn't happen, I'm getting out of the business. I said, me too. I'm going back to my horn again, and that's it. Well, long story short, Dee Dee Dinah comes out. Boom, top 5. Who's Sorry Now comes out. Boom, top record. And that started.
MGM Records, Connie Francis, Chancellor Records. It's got to be an exciting thing for a kid like you from South Philly now to have a hot record, and you're doing all those big shows, Sullivan, Steve Allen, all those guys.
I'll tell you something. when I was doing the Ed Sullivan Show, I mean, that's 30, 40 million people were watching that.
Sunday night.
Sunday nights. And I'm, my first shot on the Ed Sullivan Show, and I'm backstage, and I hear, ladies and gentlemen, live from New York City, the Ed Sullivan Show, starring...
Toast to the town.
Yeah, toast to the... Starring, names, and Frankie Avalon. And I'm back there. I'm going, God. And I'm just ready to go on, and boy, am I nervous. I mean, now I'm saying, what's that first lyric? What is the first lyric? Jesus, gee. And here he is, Frankie Avalon. And I walk out there, and, my legs are shaking or whatever, but from here on up, as cool as could be, but I was so nervous. But it didn't show. I said, Jesus, I can do this,
First network show.
Yeah.
From playing half-ball on the street.
Right. And then, then can't even walk down the streets because, the kids took a liking to me, and that started it. I mean, I just had fan clubs and 12,000 pieces of mail per day. I mean, it was really amazing. I couldn't go to a restaurant, nothing. And to me, it was embarrassing. I didn't know how to handle it. Because, all these kids are screaming and yelling and whatever. I mean, when I was in school, nobody screamed when I walked down the hall. It was a difference, All of a sudden, I mean, I was the best looking, this, that, all that stuff is the yearbooks and all. But, to have all of this adulation, there was just mind-boggling.
How important was Dick for your career, Dick Clark?
Well, Dick Clark, out of Philadelphia, everybody thought that because I was a Philadelphian and he's from Philadelphia, that's how I got on the Dick Clark Show. Dick was so professional. You had to have a record that was starting to show up on the charts, different radio stations around the country. Well, Dee Dee Dinah was that song. So that's how I got on. And after that, I became very important to Dick Clark, and he became very important to me. Because I would do the Dick Clark Show, the Saturday Night Beach Nut Show, and
IFIC,
and all that stuff. So he was important. More so than that, I mean, he became such a friend like you. I mean, he loved you, and we were, buddies all through the years. I did a lot of work for Dick Clark. I hosted a lot of specials for him, big specials for NBC. I did a lot of dates with him, for him. So we became really good friends.
There is a great program which we're going to be doing Thursday on AM radio, ladies and gentlemen, because back in the day there was FM, but AM was the thing beside Dick Clark. So if you got play on AM format radio back then, that enhanced the career, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you had a record, High Lit was another. Joe Niagara. All right, it's enough.
What did he say?
I can't hear him. I don't know. Thank God.
Let me check. Try to explain to these wonderful people when we did the one-nighters on a bus, town to town, the Cavalcade Stars.
Well, I talk about it on stage. I don't know if anybody's seen the show yesterday or whatever. Yeah. But, you had one hit record, 2 hit records, and there was a man by the name of Irving Feld.
Circus man after.
Right. He owned Barnum and Bailey. Yeah. And he also managed Paul Anka.
Yep.
And he was a showman, and he put together this bus tour with about 14 acts, and we went and played 91. We got into a hotel every other night. Because we slept on the bus. And I say it on stage, not a luxury bus. It was a school bus, And I was fortunate because I'm a little guy, and I was able to sleep where you put your luggage,
Yeah. You were just a little guy.
So we did 91 nighters, and then, and then on the show, like Bobby Darin and I became real close friends. And if we went into a town and we weren't on for a while, we'd find a radio station, and Bobby would say, "Come on, let's go see if they play our records." Come on. We promoted. It was.
It's funny. It's almost like what happens here on the Malt Shop Memories Cruise. We become a family. All of the performers here are a family, and you are a part of the family.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only place in America where you could really be a part of a family with the performers.
Well, you know what I think? I think it's just so wonderful through the years. You people out here that been a part of my life, and I've been a part of your life, the dedication is absolutely amazing to me. I mean, look at this. It's 60 years ago, or 61 years ago, that I started all this stuff, and you guys have been with me all this time, and still show up, which is great, you know?
Well, that's what America was. The music spoke for the things that we felt. Music will never be, and the longevity for stars of today will never be the longevity of Frankie Avalon or the artist that you see
Well,
all the
you know,
time.
it just amazes me because I remember when I first came out, you know, all the reviewers would give me reviews like, if this guy lasts 1 year, he's going to be lucky, you know, because Dee Dee Dinah was kind of a gimmicky record anyway. I held my nose, you know, I did it. No, it's the truth. And I also say that a lot of the critics held their noses too when they heard it.
Hey, let me ask you, the nightclubs, you know, we talked about Bobby Darin. Bobby really opened it up with the Copa, I think, right? With the appearance there when you did the
Yeah,
album.
yeah. Well, yeah, he was, I was, Rydell was.
Right.
That was about it. I don't think too many more.
Well, you know, he made the album, as you know, that's all.
Yeah.
And because of that album with Mac the Knife, see, we were considered rock and rollers, and the legitimate nightclubs were not touching rock and roll at that time.
Well, what you had to do to get into that area, because I didn't just, you know, it got so frantic and so uh, crazy that when I would go out and do a performance, I played till 10,000 people, whatever it was, and I'd sing Dee Dee Dinah Gingerbread, and you couldn't even hear me because there was kids were screaming and yelling. So I said, you know what? I want to make sure that I have some kind of a career. So what I did, I had asked my management, and I said, "Hey guys, I will find me somebody that's going to teach me because I want to get in to the nightclub business." So they found this guy. His name was Nick Castle, and the other guy, Lou. But Nick Castle was my guy.
Wasn't he married to Patty Page? Who was married?
No, but he did her act too. So
Right.
what they did, they gave me 2 months to work with him in a little studio that he had, and there was a big mirror like this. There was a microphone, a piano, and drums, which were my two guys. And he taught me how to walk on stage, how to bow, how to get the audience to stand. All these little tricks, you know, of learning what show business is. And I'll never forget. I'm there for like the first month, and I'm, you know, so dedicated to it. And I'm working on the opening song, and because he would say the lights, he had lights and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, and he would always say, "From the Copacabana, here he is, Mr. Frankie Avalon." I walk on, the band would play, "I'll Take Romance," da 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 da. That was my opening song, and then this, and then I would take the mic off and walk around and sing. So he taught me all these things. So after about a month, I went in there one day. And I started, and here he is, Frankie Avalon. I came out, and I was kind of, as we say in the business, marking, not really performing it like he wanted me to. And he got up and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nick, I've been, you know, it's a month. I got it. You know, I know the show now. I got it." He said, "Get out of here." I said, "What?" He said, "I don't want you here. Go." And I said, "Yeah, but Nick," he said, "Get out of my studio." He kicked me out. I said, "Oh my God." So finally, when he cooled off and I went back, he said, "Listen, when that light comes on and when you hear your name, you're on. And don't ever forget that."
Take it seriously.
Yeah.
Nick Castle, if I remember, did a lot of great choreography
Oh my
for the
God,
movies. For the
movies.
movies.
Are you
Really.
kidding? He used to do the dance routines for Fred Astaire.
Exactly. Wow.
He was brilliant.
Let me, you know, it's funny because when we talk about the Copa, this is something you guys didn't know. Most nightclubs have a stage. When you went out of the Copa,
Right on the floor.
you were on the floor.
But you know what? When I opened to break in the act, I was playing at the Casino Royale in
Buffalo.
Washington, D.C., and who came to see me was Annette at the time,
Right.
and Steve and Edie, Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet.
Right.
But I'll never forget. Now, this is my first time breaking in the act. Now, I could sing, you know, but now I had to say good evening and welcome to the show, my show tonight. So now the opening song, and I say, I take the mic off, and I go to the audience, and I say, "Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen." I said, so happy to be here. I could sing, but I couldn't talk. You know,
You know how frightening it is?
Well,
Even
nerves, yeah.
Sinatra, even Frank, he was a little nervous because when you went out at the Copa, you had everybody sitting around you and looking, and not only people in show business, but you know.
Oh, no, yeah, not only that, but you had Darth Kilgallen, you had, I mean, celebrities there, and believe me, and I'm not exaggerating, I would have to work in a circle like this, and the tables were right here. Everybody was right here.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I used to do a dance number with a hat and cane and that stuff. I had to take it out of the show.
Ah, records, nightclubs, concert. Now we segue to the movie. How did that happen?
Well, again, what happened was I had gotten so much heat. You know, I was very popular. So now the movie studios say, get this kid. We put this kid in a picture with a major star. He's going to bring in another element. He's going to bring in young kids. So Warner Brothers had a film called Guns of the Timberland. And
Alan
it was
Ladd.
starring Alan Ladd, right. And they signed me to do the picture. And amazing, the picture was produced and written by his first picture. He was a writer, Aaron Spelling. Yeah. So I did this picture with Alan Ladd, and the picture wasn't released yet, but they were preparing. I think it was Paramount was preparing, or United Artists, a picture starring John Wayne, which he was going to direct, produce, and star in, called The Alamo. So he had heard about the film that I just did, and had him send over a reel, and he looked at it, and he said, sign him, I want him in The Alamo. So that was my second picture.
That was the beginning. You know, on stage, he'll tell you, tell him about your beautiful wife and the relationship with John Wayne and that family.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was thinking something else with The Alamo. When I, first of all, you know, you're talking about a kid from South Philadelphia.
Riding a horse?
Oh, riding a horse. The only horse I knew, yeah. The only horses we knew was these in summertime. They would come to the street for dime. You know, you get on it and you go up and down the street. They would
25 cents rides up and down the street.
Right. So, but you know, I did learn how to ride because they had all the wranglers and everything like that. And you know, I was the guy. I was Smitty, and I was the guy who took the message to General Sam Houston to tell him about the battle that was going on in the Alamo. So that was my first experience there. But my relationship is because John Wayne's son, one of his sons, he had three sons, I think, was Michael Wayne. And Michael Wayne was married to a gal, Gretchen Dybel. And they had gotten married, and she visited we were in Brackettville, Texas for 6 months shooting that picture. And she was there with a little baby. This was 1959.
Now, hold on for a second, because we're going to have to take a little break, right? Or we're going to have to wrap it up?
We're
real
done.
Quick. Okay.
All right, well, nice talking to you.
Now, real quick. He married. Go ahead.
Yeah, so time goes by, and Gretchen Dybel and Michael Wayne, he was the producer, young producer who produced his pictures for his father. And I met this gal through Rona Barrett. I don't know if you know that name. Okay. And she was friendly with my wife, Kay Dybel. And I was very friendly with Rona Barrett. And she brought her over to my house that I had in California, because I was doing a lot of films then and television. So she introduced me to her. And I'll never forget, I was playing cards with a lot of my buddies there, actors and things. And when we had a conversation and she walked out, and I said, I'm going to marry that girl.
And he did, ladies and gentlemen, because of the Alamo. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible, what you see, what you hear is where he lives. Frankie Avalon, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you all.